Good afternoon, and welcome to this edition of Voices from Our Schools. I'm your host, Kimberly Stender, and I welcome you to the program today. Joining me today, I have someone who is new to the Office of the Superintendent. She's the Director of Student Services, and her name is Dr. Faye Brady. So I hope you'll help me welcome her to the show today, and we can learn a little bit about what goes on in the Student Services Office. Hi, Faye.
Hi, Kim. Thank you for having me here today.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for joining me. This is a nice opportunity for you to tell our audience about the Office of Student Services and what you do and your staff does every day and all the great things you do for our students.
Great. A wonderful opportunity to share and let people know.
Good. I'm glad you're here. But you weren't here a few months ago. You were living elsewhere, and this position happened to open up, and you arrived in Amherst. And can you tell us a little bit maybe about your educational journey and how you got here?
Sure. And it's wonderful to be here in Amherst. I'm still learning a lot. As I was saying to people yesterday, I now can get from one school to the other without getting lost. So 6 months, I'm getting a little bit comfortable with the community. And I came here from New Jersey, where I had a similar position in a school district, in a public school there. And have found it to be a rewarding and wonderful experience to be here. What a warm and welcoming community. So thank you to you and everybody in the district and the community. A little bit about myself. Boy, it's been a while, but I started my professional career as a social worker quite a few years ago, and had continued that throughout my career in one form or another. So as a social worker, I then found myself spending most of my time working with children and adolescents and their families, and that took me into the schools. Because that's where children spend most of their time.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed working in the schools. I think by taking my clinical background and bringing it into the schools, it was an opportunity to really make a difference in the lives of children where they spend 6 hours plus a day. So after working in the schools and kind of a short period of time as a nursery school teacher as well, I then moved along to further education and getting my doctorate in K-12 educational leadership and administration with a focus on special education, and have been focusing my career lately more in an administrative sense. So that's in a nutshell, a lot of years of experience.
I know you have more to tell, but we only have a 30-minute program. But your accomplishments, preceded you. Prior to you arriving in Amherst, our superintendent, Maria Garrick, told us a lot about you, and it was very impressive to hear what you have done and the work you've done in New Jersey, and we were thrilled that you're on board now.
Yeah. And Amherst is a wonderful community and a wonderful school district with a lot of new learning opportunities for me, so it's an exciting place to be.
Well, that's good. We'll keep you busy.
Yeah. Yes.
So Student Services, a lot of people aren't really familiar with the Office of Student Services and what it encompasses, but it's quite broad.
Yes.
It's sort of a big umbrella, and a lot of very important work falls under this. Do you want to take the time to talk a little bit about maybe some of the larger components of student services?
Sure, and as you, where I think we're beginning to say, one of the most predominant and the biggest parts of student services is the area of special education. And certainly in student services, we focus a lot of our time and energy building programs and services for students in our school district who have different educational needs that cannot be met in the regular classrooms with just the general teacher. So special education is a big portion of student services. And when we talk about special education, we're talking about programs and services that may be at a very, very mild level, where we're just providing some strategies or supports at a very low level for students with maybe some learning disabilities in their general classroom, as well as kind of the whole continuum of programs and services for students with more intensive needs, with the focus of trying to have those programs be able to support students in the public schools where they can really learn alongside their peers who do not have disabilities.
Right. So you're talking very simply maybe some occupational therapy, how younger children hold a pen, or maybe some physical therapy where they kind of learn to move in their own space.
Sure, and those are a good example of some of the related services that a student may qualify for in order to be able to access their learning.
Right.
Occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, counseling. The list is
quite extensive.
Pretty long.
It is. And then you have special education, I guess, plans?
Yes, better known as IEPs. We tend to have a lot of acronyms in the world of special ed. And IEPs mean individual education plans, because in special education, everything is individualized for that specific student and what their needs are, along with goals and objectives. So an IEP is developed with a team of people, including the parents of that child, and potentially including the child, depending upon the age, to review what is that student's needs and how to develop a plan so that student will make progress.
And these meetings happen yearly per student, or maybe even more frequently, depending on the situation?
Yeah, at least yearly, if not more frequently. Sometimes things might change within the scope of a year, and the team will need to reconvene to reassess and say, well, this is really working well, but this isn't, and what else do we need to do?
So it's really a critical, ongoing process.
Yes. I think better known people really, truly should think of an IEP or an individual education plan as a living document and something that can be revised and redone as a student's needs change.
Yeah, I think it's very important, and a lot of students fall into this. You know, personally speaking, we went through this with one of our children from a very young age, and we were always so grateful for the services that he received. You know, starting very, very young, right on through really high school. You know, so it was very reassuring to know that people like yourself and our teachers and facilitators were there to really help all the time. And we've lived in many districts, I have to say. And we were always so impressed with the level of professionalism and how, you know, this was handled. It was wonderful.
Well, certainly that's been a large part of my experience since I've been here in Amherst, and one that I support tremendously. That I think that working collaboratively and closely with the families to be able to help identify what to do to help a student learn, and as early as possible.
Yes.
Early intervention, all the research supports, makes a huge difference.
Huge difference as he goes off to college next year. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I know. And I think what you mentioned also, Faye, rings true with the communication between parents and guardians and the school staff. I know it's so important for parents to voice their concerns, and rightfully so, but it's also important to learn to sort of sit back in a sense and let that child adapt to the plan and really blossom with the recommendations of the staff.
Well, I think what you're referring to is that we need, between parents and guardians and school personnel, to have a trusting relationship.
Yes.
And we all need to hear each other and listen to each other, staying focused on that student and being able to know that we all have a different perspective and we may see things differently sometimes, but if we trust each other and we can listen to each other, we can work together to do great things for the child.
Yes. And there's a group of parents who comprise the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, CPAC, another acronym. That's, you know, they're a very strong voice in our schools. And I know you've met with several members, and you really are focused on maintaining that open and positive communication between CPAC and your office.
Sure. Well, parent advisory councils are mandated by the state for good reason, however. As a director, to be an effective leader, I can't assume that I can see everything that needs to be seen from an angle just from sitting where I sit.
Right.
So I really value and need parents to be able to give me that other perspective and work closely with me. So I was very fortunate this summer to be able to reach out to our executive board of our Special Ed Parent Advisory Council and get them to come early on in the summer to meet with me so that I could meet them, they could meet me, and we could begin having a partnership. And I have to say, it's been tremendous. They've been really, really helpful for me to get to know the strengths, weaknesses, areas where they think we need to focus, and to develop a connection that hopefully will help enhance our programs and promote our success. So.
That's nice.
It's a great group, and there's an executive board, but we also have regular meetings where other parents can come. It's often difficult to get great attendance because people are busy. There's a lot going on in people's lives. So whether it's through attending meetings of the Parent Advisory Council or just connecting with myself or other personnel in the office, we welcome and really rely on the input of our parents.
And your staff is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, you have yourself, of course, Joanne Smith.
Yes.
And then Tina Anir. And Jennifer Ryan.
Right.
And then I know
Jeannie White. And Dave Sloven.
And Dave Sloven,
So we have a great group of people, and not just those people who are more central office, but also based in the schools, but a great group of special education teachers. Our paraprofessionals do a superb job.
They do.
And all of our related service staff, which we're fortunate to have very, very highly skilled people with good amounts of supports there for our students.
And does the staff have the opportunity to attend professional development sessions on a regular basis, like faculty at the high school or the elementary schools?
Sure, we work closely with people to really help identify what are the areas that we are needing professional development in, and look to schedule that in a manner that is least disruptive to people being in the classroom with the students. So sometimes we do things in the summer. The summer is a major focus of time, and also then try to coordinate that carefully with their teaching responsibilities. Professional development, I work very closely with Rhonda Cohen, our Director of Teaching and Learning, in order to look at what's happening in her department, because much of the professional development opportunities can apply to all.
Yes.
So.
I know all of you directors are very busy.
Yes.
And you're all very collaborative, and you work, you have a very streamlined process, and it's really neat to see on a day-to-day basis. So.
Well, it's wonderful in the office to have a number of directors who we can, although we all have our own departments, Dr. Cohen, Dr. Guevara, Mike Morris, Jerry Champagne, we have any one of a number of us, but what we do and how we interface with each other is really what makes it all come together.
No, you're absolutely right. It's a strong team, and you fit right in.
So it's a great group.
And then outside the central office, we have a number of community partners that you've learned about since you've joined us. And I know recently the UMass Psychological Services came to our aid after the unfortunate Newtown, Connecticut tragedy. And it's just nice to know that you can literally reach across East Pleasant Street and have this resource at your fingertips.
And UMass Psychological Services, and there's other departments at UMass that were also part of it. I'm still learning what all those different departments are, but the personnel have been great and are there for us all the time, not always even waiting for myself or someone else to pick up the phone, but they reach out to us. So that connection to kind of pool our resources to all work together for the benefit of our students and our staff and our families is just tremendous.
Yeah, it really pulls our community together.
Oh yeah, so, and there's tremendous expertise over in the university as well as the other area colleges.
Yes.
And their interest in taking an active role in the public school system is just wonderful.
It is, it's phenomenal.
Makes being in Amherst an exciting place to be.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, aside from special education, you've been charged by our superintendent, Maria Garrick, with another exciting umbrella, I guess, to carry, and that's wellness.
Yes.
Yes, and wellness is another large area comprising nutrition and fitness and just basically, you know, well-being of our students and our staff. But we started this wellness committee in October, and you are, I guess, the chairperson of that, along with Monica Hall,
Right.
principal at Fort River, and Robin Supernaut, who's our district nurse. And I'm able to sit in on those meetings as a member myself and really learn about a lot of the ideas that our community, our parents, and folks from the universities and colleges have. And we're going to start, I guess, kind of laying out some things and implementing them over the next year or so.
Yeah. And wellness, appropriately so, fits in student services also. As I said, there's plenty of hats here.
Plenty.
But health services, our nurses are in the student services department. And as we know, there's a close link between physical well-being and emotional well-being. So we have our counselors also. But in this wellness committee, we are really trying to look at crafting and drafting a wellness policy for our district. And we're fortunate to have a tremendous amount of parent input on the committee, personnel from the district, as well as professionals from a number of places in the nearby communities sitting on that committee with us. So we're working hard to get that policy underway, as well as looking at some other topics like food allergies, asthma, physical well-being and physical activity for our children, and how to put that all together in a meaningful way.
Yes.
So we're seeing this year as hopefully we'll have some finalized products by the end of the year, but if nothing else, kicking off a well-established committee that can sustain to do work that will need to be on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the knowledge that a lot of these individuals bring to the table. And they really know what they're talking about. And I think it's because they have a personal interest in this. It affects their children. And it's very powerful to hear what they have to say. And it's equally powerful to know that they're really motivated and they really want to get these things in place. So it's been a privilege, I guess, to sit amongst these people and learn, but also be a part of this as well.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see how people have come together, potentially because they have an individual situation with their child or with somebody that they know well, so that has brought them to the table, but they're also willing and able to look at how do we make this something that's meaningful district-wide and how to pull that all together. So it's really been wonderful.
It has been. And then part of this wellness committee, we are working to bring this a community event to Amherst and to the neighboring communities. And we're going to bring a movie in February to the community. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about this and let folks know what they can expect.
Sure. And this was brought to our attention by one of our committee members, actually. So this was wonderful, who's a employee in the district and was able to access a copy of the Weight of the Nation film, an HBO documentary, which is just filled with meaningful information and lots for us to think about and learn from. So we're going to be able to have a showing of that on February 28th.
Yes.
I don't remember what night of the week that is.
I believe it's a Thursday.
Okay. And that'll be over at the high school in the auditorium.
Yes.
And we're going to show not the whole film, because we'd be there for many, many hours, but portions of the film. And we're trying to also put together a panel from our committee of different people with areas of expertise, so that we really have this as a way to bring in the investment from all stakeholders in the community
Yes.
to promote the well-being and the wellness of our children, as well as our families.
Yeah, it's very
So,
important. And
yeah.
I think our First Lady, Michelle Obama, that's
Yes.
one of her initiatives. And really, let's get fit. Let's be
Right.
very conscious of what foods we put into our bodies and how our kids, what they eat at school,
Right.
how they're, what physical education programs we have in place. It's really important.
And we're doing this because it's a strong interest and it's something we
Absolutely.
all need to think about. But we also do know that a child's physical well-being, which is affected by their nutrition and their physical activity, will impact their learning.
Yes.
So, and their readiness to learn in the classroom. So, it's all connected.
It
so
is.
it's a great opportunity, and we hope that we'll have tremendous turnout that night.
Oh,
Let's
I-
hope the weather
I know
stays
it's going to
well
happen.
with
We're going to
us.
start promoting it. We're
Great.
working with the collaborative to get some posters out.
Yes.
And we're also looking to table in the lobby. So we're going to have groups there to talk about nutrition and fitness and anything else that people would like to see. And I might add, it's a free event. It's a free movie.
Yes. And we have some of our partners from the university and some students who are participating and helping us with this. So again, it's how everybody works together.
Right. It's a true community venture.
And thank you for helping advertise it and taking over that piece.
You're welcome. That's what I do. I think another really important group to speak about is the Amorous Disabilities Access Advisory Council. And this is a group that we found out about relatively a short time ago.
Certainly I did, but I think
I
I'm
as well.
finding out about everything just a short while ago. And this is a group that meets in the community on a regular basis. And I think just as you said the name, an advisory group, so that it's a group of people who have interest and expertise in making certain that our buildings and all about our schools are paying attention to the access for people with disabilities.
Yes.
So again, just like our Special Ed Parent Advisory Council, it's an opportunity to have the lens from other people who may be able to see things that we otherwise wouldn't be able to see as quickly on our own.
Right.
So I go to those meetings, and happily you join me for those. And we look forward to really building a very close relationship with that group so that we make sure that we think about things and attend to things proactively versus just having to fix things if we've made mistakes by
Right.
not thinking.
Right. I think, what I learned from sitting in that meeting that morning was that, like you said, there is a different lens and things that I might take for granted, someone else might have an extreme difficulty with accessing a building or figuring out how they're going to maneuver around a certain area in a park or a playground. And it really opened my eyes a great deal to how we could make our schools and facilities a little more friendly to people with disabilities.
Sure. And I think you and I noticed, even just from being in one meeting together, that we were able to come back and have a different level of awareness and just our consciousness raised. I know that sounds like an expression that might be overused, but we've just some details just within the school. We were able to just in a very small way say, oh, look, I think we need to make a change there. So it's really helped us already.
It has. And Ron Bohanowitz?
Been tremendously responsive that way.
Absolutely.
So, and welcomes that input. Because again, we can't necessarily see everything on our own.
No, we can't. We can't. So we have about 5 minutes left of the show, Faye, and I just want to hear from you maybe some goals that you have in mind for your work and the work of your staff, in the next year or so. What are you working on? Maybe what other programs you're thinking about, and how these will affect our students and families.
Well, there's no shortage of what we could do. And I think some of our more short-term goals are to really work on ensuring that our community and our partners, our parent and guardian partners, feel and know that we are working collaboratively with them, and that we really value a partnership with parents. And that's not always easy to achieve, because as a parent, when you come into school and it's about your child, your heart is there. And we need to respect that and be able to make sure that we do everything we can as a school to support that with our parents. So I think that's one of my goals, so that we can really feel that we're all together. So, and we are looking at what can we do in terms of some of our practices to get better at that. So that's one kind of all-encompassing goal that will affect all of us. We're also undertaking program reviews for our special education programs, which will be done on an ongoing basis, because our programs, which are just very, very well developed, as our student populations change and our needs change, we need to review them on an ongoing basis. And also looking to make data-driven decisions. That's something we are working on very, very carefully right now, so that when we look at our programs and we're trying to measure student success, that we're using data for that, versus just saying, well, it seems to be good. So we're looking to incorporate much more of that. And that's something we're doing district-wide, but we're certainly doing a strong focus on that in student services.
Wow.
So I think that might be kind of some of the major focuses. We have this other piece about safety and district crisis team work, that we're building some more structures and some more organizational frameworks to support that, and really be able to look at that in a very hard way, and partnering with, and I think Amorous has been doing this a long time, with our law enforcement community, to continue to make sure our schools are safe places for
and
our
the fire
children.
department as well.
Yes,
Can't leave them out.
Absolutely, they're very, very important, and they work great together. So
they do.
That's
they
nice.
do. We're very fortunate to have a lot of these resources in our town, and in the town of Amherst as well has been great. John Musanti and his group has been very supportive of the work that we continue to do. So it's all good, and I know what you bring to the table. And moving forward, it's just going to make the Office of Student Services even a more efficient and beneficial place. So I thank you for all your work. It's been a short time, but you've accomplished quite a bit, Faye Brady.
Well, thank you. And I could only do the work I'm doing because of all the great people I work with. What a great community it is. So.
It is, and we're glad to have you here.
And thank you for letting me share some of this with the bigger community out there.
Well, I'm glad. All of our viewers will really enjoy this, so thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on this edition of Voices from Our Schools. Again, I'm your host, Kimberly Stender, and I hope you have a great afternoon.